Stone. Well, nothing says love. You know that phrase, loving from the oven? I think if we say that, we think of bread. I think of bread, you think of bread, we all think about bread. There is something that is so familiar and comforting. It's like a scent that caresses us. It's like almost like a hug in a way. Well, this has been baking and cooking season for a lot of different reasons. And there was a time in my grocery store, you couldn't even buy yeast. You couldn't even buy flour. It's a new normal, but it's also getting people back into their homes and back into their kitchen. Well, if you have dexterity issues like I do, I used to make bread, but sadly, I can't really knead and proof things the way I used to. And frankly, why would I? When you have something that is this small, this ergonomic, that is a better bread maker than I could ever hope to be, it's an oven that does everything. It kneads, it proofs, it knows when to rise. You can change, you can actually adapt the crust. You can set a timer on this so you can wake up to fresh baked bread. There's 14 different types of bread. It's more than just bread. You could do gluten-free. You could, watch your sugar, your calorie intake. You can do different types of flour. You can change the crust. You can do preserves. You can do mincemeats. You can do jams in this. You can do meatloaves. And gosh darn it, you can do it at this price if you're shopping now. So this beautiful black, the white, the turquoise, and the red. And yes, you get a terrific instruction/recipe booklet included. Chef, I know we're gonna defer back to you in your test kitchen out there in California. This sold out so quickly. And by the way, it's sold out for almost $50 more. I don't even know why we did this sale price, my friend.
It's crazy, but I'm so happy we did. Listen, I'm holding on to the Bible, 19 recipes. It is so easy for you to follow along with these recipes. Let me give you an example. This is how you bake the bread. You start off with a little bit of water, and these are all mapped out for you. You can do country loaf, brioche, French loaf. A little bit of oil goes into this recipe. Then you put some salt and some sugar. You put the flour. You just dump it all in, just like that. And then a little bit of yeast goes on top. And guess, this is where it gets really complicated. You press start. That's it. You see it start working immediately, and I'll tilt this up for you, Dave, so you can get a shot of that. See inside there how that's kneading away, right? So that's going to turn itself into a dough. Now, the process is it kneads, it rests, it proves, it kneads again, it bakes, it does all of it, but all you do is close the door. That's it. This is what you come back to. And they all take slightly different amounts of time. Have a look at what I have here, because this is how simple it is. And this is the country white. So you just go ahead and lift that up. I'm going to just pick that whole thing up and then just tip it on out so you can see it. It comes out super easy. Why? Because of our non-stick, guys. You know it. The DuraPan is forever well and good. And I've got my electric bread knife, which is also an incredible carver. Have a look at this, you guys. I mean, can you imagine baking beautifully structured bread like this every single morning? And by the way, yes, you can set a timer so when you wake up in the morning, your bread's ready. Let me put that up there with a country loaf, because we're going to get through a whole lot of these. By the way, I've got a little knife here, which is a butter knife. It's a Japanese butter knife. So you just pull it across your butter, and then it makes it really easy to spread. So if you want some of that Japanese butter knife, jump on in as well. We've got over 100 products at HSN, but this is hot and so fresh. And the idea of fresh bread, first thing in the morning, oh my Lord. Shannon, I'm sorry. Yum. It's crusty on the outside, it's soft and fabulous on the inside, but I've way too many to show you. Multigrain's next. Let me go ahead and grab that multigrain. Let me come back over here. Again, you're in charge. You can make all sorts of seeded breads. Like I said, we give you 19 recipes, but feel free to adapt and play. It's so simple and so easy. Thanks, Vanessa. Now, the dough hook, see how it is right there? You pull it out just like that. In fact, we even give you this little hook just to remove the dough hook from the bottom, because don't forget, it's kneading and proving and baking. It's doing all of the things that you don't want to have to do. Oh, my Lord. If you could feel how crusty this beautiful crust is, and then if you could see how fluffy and perfect the inside of this bread is, and don't mind me, Shannon, I'm just going to keep having a little taste, because you know what I say, you've always got to make sure that you did it right.
You know how jealous I am, right? Because
my God.
nobody, they used to call me the soup and bread lady when I lived in Minnesota. There was a bread shop about 3 blocks from my house, and I'm not kidding, I was there almost every day. But now you're baking bread at home. But here's what's interesting. It's more than just bread. You're doing rice pudding, you're doing jam, you're doing yogurt. Yes, you're baking. Remember, you can do meatloafs in this. It's like a little mini oven. But here's the other thing. Yes, you can control everything in terms of the gluten, your sugar, and your calories, because I promise you, if you've got a loaf of bread at home, and I know you do, read that label. There's a lot more than yeast and flour and milk. I mean, they put stuff in there that is, in some cases, it's a month later expiration date. But here's the other thing about this. You know, the thing is, Chef, when I said it's like loving from the oven, in a season where we want to be generous, but maybe we don't have the kind of budgets for Christmas gifts that we used to, there is nothing more homespun, more appreciated, or more loved than giving, you know, a braided loaf bread, a challah bread, homemade yeast rolls, a homemade coffee cake, homemade cinnamon rolls. I gotta tell you, if you only bought it to make gifts this Christmas season, it will pay for itself over and over and over again.
You are so right. Now, look, I'm showing you how it comes together as a dough. I'm just giving you like the inner workings of the machine because it does all the hard work for you. But let's get back to the fun part and pulling beautiful breads out. So I've got right here a date and currant loaf. And again, all these recipes are coming to you. We've spent a ton of time in the kitchen perfecting them. In fact, I was just at the Good Housekeeping Institute talking to the guys there about the recipes that they have seen over bread makers. And I sent them mine and they're like, oh my goodness, this is just so incredible. Have a look how I can just slide that knife through. Crusty on the outside. Can you hear that? So crusty and wonderful, but look at the inside with those currants and walnuts all gone through. I said date before, didn't I? Now, I told you, Shannon, I'm going to eat every single one because to me, bread, you got it right. When you wake up to beautiful smelling bread, and the thing is we take bread for granted these days, right? You just think, oh, it comes this way, so we stick it in. No. When you have freshly baked bread, and with the bread maker, you have freshly baked bread all the time. It is so wonderful. It needs nothing else. Maybe a little butter, but you don't need spreads. You don't need all this stuff. Oh my goodness. Shannon, it's so good.
I'm so jealous. I am getting that Japanese butter knife, by the way. Hey, I think the red is the most limited. Turquoise, white, or the black. Chef, I'll defer back to you, but then I think we might have a good shot of the control panel on top here. Thank you, Chef. I just want everybody to see this real quickly, because remember, it's your mini oven. So, Chef, if you could talk me through what I'm seeing. So, if I don't know anything about making bread, if I choose number 1, I'm doing express or English muffins. So I don't even have to know how to bake bread. I kind of dial in what I want, basically.
All you do is you choose the cycle, and that's explained in that. I called it my bread Bible, that little book that we're sending you home with. You're going to go in, you'll hit menu. Then you'll choose the weight. Then you'll choose, first the menu, you'll cycle through the numbers and that'll tell you which bread you want to actually bake. Then you'll choose the weight because you can do bigger or smaller loaves depending on how big you want your loaf to be. Then you choose the color crust, which is this button right here. And then you hit start once you've dumped all the ingredients that the recipe tells you to put in. It could not be simpler. And the breads that you will make are unbelievable. I mean, when you think about this, you're like, oh, okay, well, I can get bread from the market. You can't get these kind of breads for the market. This one's a jalapeno and cheddar. And again, when you see the incredible structure, you see the jalapeno and the cheese all the way through, you just can't quite believe. And normally you'd let it sit for just a second to let a little bit of that heat out. But to me, I just love when it's hot and wonderful. You go ahead, you spread a little bit of that warm butter on, or cold butter onto the warm bread, and you just watch it melt. You know, there's something just so satisfying about it to me. And the flavor, of course, is like nothing else. You know, the thing about bread is you don't need to eat a heap of bread, but when you eat bread, you want it to be really good bread. You know, back in the day when we used to go to a bakery each morning, well, that doesn't really happen, does it? We get our grocery store bread and... Oh, Shannon. Go and do something. I'm having
Okay,
too much
do you know
fun.
how jealous I am? I'm serious.
My God.
You have to try this. You know, Chef is our #1 brand for a reason. Do you know you could do pound cakes with this? You could do strawberry or rhubarb jam. It's a mini oven, so you could bake your meatloaf. You can make yogurt with this. But more importantly, you make homemade, real, whole food. One other thing, because it knows how to knead, it knows how to proof, it knows when it's rising. You'll notice when Chef is cutting into anything, there isn't like a lot of those holes that you get for someone who might not be experienced with bread making. And that's a really cool thing. Whether you've got culinary skills or not, you just dial in the number and you let the bread maker do the rest. And Chef, you hit on a key point, because of course we know you for so many things, you know, the Terminator of calories at The Biggest Loser as well. But you know what's so funny? I'm leaner now, and it's because I'm eating real food. I'm not obsessing about, oh God, I eat butter. I eat bread. And I think that's the key. When you eat the real food, you eat it in the right proportion because you get satisfied, don't you?
Look at this brioche, Shannon. I mean, talk about real food. This is that beautiful brioche that you could pay $12 for a loaf like this in a gourmet bakery. And look at the structure. Oh, the smell of it. It's made with a little butter, a little egg. It's just so wonderful and so easy to make. Gluten-free. If you've got anyone gluten-free in your life, buy them this bread maker, because let me tell you something. When you have gluten-free bread from a store, you've probably all tasted it. It tastes a bit like cardboard, doesn't it? It's terrible. By the way, because of our non-stick, that's how it comes out, you guys. Absolutely spotless. You barely even need to rinse it under the tap. But here's my gluten-free bread. Of course, it has a slightly different appearance, but wait till you see the structure. Look at that beautiful bread. So I can cut through it like that, and you can see it here. Oh my goodness, you would never know that it even is gluten-free. So I'm gonna just give that just a tiny bit of butter as well. Shannon, I love doing this show, the Bread Maker Show, more than any other show I do. Now, I just had a peek. Guys, if you want this, call us right now, okay? We've sold 2,600 of them, and we're on air for 5 minutes. It's not airing again. It will sell out. So if you want it, the 9x13, go ahead and grab it. I know that I'm jumping around you guys, but even with gluten-free bread, I'm the happiest man in the world.
You know, bread equals happiness. It's like bread equal happiness. This is like happiness in a box. I'm happy we took almost $50 off the price. It is while supplies last only. You also get our extended holiday return policy. Get it at home. I promise you, whether it's bread for yourself or whether you're paying it forward, whether it's community food donations, or when I say this is the gift of love for the Christmas and holiday season. You give somebody a loaf of bread, they thank you, they love you. Plus, there's something that's so aromatic and hopeful about the smell of baking bread. But Chef, the thing that I love most is, you know, you've got a great dream team out there, but I'm not great with making bread. And you know, I'm pretty decent in the kitchen, but I don't know how to knead and proof and all that. This gives me confidence, so I thank you for that.
You're so right. Look, you can also do the slices as thin or as thick as you want. You don't need my electric knife, although you want it, so go ahead and pick that up too. But you can see these incredible breads that you're able to make. I don't have time to do them all. You can make pasta dough, you can make homemade yogurt, you can make pizza dough, of course. I'm actually doing a cinnamon, what did you say it was? Cinnamon and what? Oh, cinnamon raisin. This is my favorite. I know we're running out of time, you guys, but if you want to grab this before the holidays, we do not have this on a reorder. So if you want it, go ahead and grab it, because this is the final quantity for the rest of the year. Look at those raisins. See how they're perfectly dispersed? I know that's a small detail, but a lot of bread makers won't do that. And we've gone to all of the effort to make sure that you're getting the absolute best. Do you like how I kept this one till very last? Because